Ciao, Vardians, how y'all doing? Let's get right into the question of the day. Which of the following cities has the highest mean salary for speech and language pathologists? Is it A, Modesto, California, B, Santa Rosa, California, C, Santa Maria, California, D, Bridgeport, Connecticut, or E, Corvallis, Oregon? The answers will be at the end of the interview. Enjoy. Hey y'all, I hope you're well. Welcome to another episode of Healthcare Boulevard. This is a podcast where we shine more light on healthcare, and our goal here is to provide more options to people looking to choose healthcare as a career path, regardless of their background. My name is Sandra, and I am your host and creator here. I thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your support. Remember, you can tune in on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Okay, welcome back, audience. We are here for another interview. I'm here with the guest speaker today. Her name is Sandra. She is a speech and language therapist, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. Welcome, Sandra. How you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and your profession.
Sure. So I am a speech language pathologist, and I've done that for almost 30 years. I just had a birthday yesterday. I'm getting old.
But you're getting wiser. You're getting wiser.
Yeah, older and wiser. But in addition to being a speech language pathologist, I'm also a certified Auditory-Verbal Therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a professional who specializes in working with families who have children with hearing loss, and those children learn to listen and talk. So I've done that for my entire profession.
That's what's up. Give us a little bit of a journey as to how you became a speech and language therapist.
Sure. So I originally was going to be a teacher, and my high school counselor called me in and had me apply for a scholarship, and I got it, and I went off to college in San Diego, and I was there for 2 years. While I was there, I took sign language, and I really loved it. And when I transferred to UCSB after my first 2 years, they did not have a liberal studies major, which is the education major. So I asked them, what's something to do with sign language? And they said, try speech and hearing. So I started that major at UCSB, and I loved the content. I loved it so much. It was like I found my calling. And so I finished my bachelor's with in speech and hearing. And, you know, to become a speech language pathologist, you need to get your master's. But interestingly, after I finished my bachelor's degree, my sister had a baby boy, and he was born profoundly deaf. Yeah. So it was kind of strange because it didn't run in our family. And 95% of families who have a child that has a significant hearing loss are born to hearing parents.
So she's part of that 5%. Yeah.
We were one of those statistics, right? Yeah. So we didn't know what this meant, but I did have some experience because of the field I was in. And I told my sister, you can sign with him, or you can, there's another kind of route, which is listening and talking. And she immediately knew she wanted for Nolan to learn to listen and talk. So anyways, you know, that was interesting to have, you know, that be a part of our family. It helped me to, I think, have compassion for parents who are going through that diagnosis. It's pretty hard on a family. But that's kind of my story and how I began my profession and kind of what brought me there. I had to get my master's degree to become a speech language pathologist, and I did that in LA. So I came to LA and went to Cal State Northridge, got my master's. And to become a speech language pathologist, you also have to do a clinical fellowship year. And I did that at the House Ear Care Center, the Children's Auditory Research and Evaluation Center, where they do cochlear implants and therapy for kids who are deaf and hard of hearing. And so that's kind of my journey. Yeah.
So was the auditory part a specialized section of your education as a speech and language therapy?
No, that's a great question. When you're becoming a speech language pathologist, you usually get a class with an audiologist about hearing and levels of hearing. But in general, you get a little teeny tiny bit of what does deafness mean? What are the communication modes that families might be able to choose? And how is hearing related to, communication? But everything I've learned really, to become a CERT AVT, you have to do either 3-year or 5-year mentoring. And you have to pass a test.
Right.
And
All the many tests.
You have to have so many hours. When I did the CERT AVT a long time ago, I think it was 2003, I needed 1,200 hours of working with families of children with hearing loss who are developing listening and talking.
Okay.
I think it's 900 hours now, but that's basically having about 9 families each week for 3 to 5 years. It's a lot of direct contact.
Right. Yeah. So as far as learning, speech and language pathologist, I keep saying therapist, my apologies, pathologist. How do you like it? How do you like what's your favorite part of it?
I have to say that even after all of these years, I have still such a passion. I mean, I think my favorite part of working as a speech language pathologist in AVT is that I get to see transformation happen within not just the children, but with the parents, because I really believe that a parent is their child's best teacher. And when we give them tools and we teach them how to advocate for their child, it changes their life. Yesterday was my birthday. I turned 53 and I got a text from one of my old students, and this little girl's profoundly deaf. She has 2 cochlear implants and she was singing me happy birthday.
Oh my goodness.
I know. So
that is sweet.
When you meet these families and you're part of their journey, it's almost like you just never leave, their life, and you make great connections. And it's also hard, sometimes you have to have conversations with families when their child doesn't make the progress, or you might think as a professional they need other modes of communication because they need language. So it's hard too, because you want all children to do well,
right?
And working with families is a dynamic process. But I do love seeing parents go from a very hopeless place to having a lot of hope, and then helping other families understand you'll get through this.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things that really nobody understands unless they've gone through it, right?
Exactly.
It really is just one of those things. So when you're able to help a family, they go through it, they have a successful story, then they can help another family that's going through similar things. So that definitely is a wave of good doing, essentially.
And that is so great that you get that, because when I start working with families, I always try and connect them with another family that has gone through, and had outcomes of what that family has in store and wants for their child.
Right.
Another parent to another parent is something much different than a parent to a professional.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because after all, when you do your work, you care much for the kids, but you go home, right? And the parents are the one there on a day-to-day basis, helping the kids out, dealing with the challenges that the kids are going through. I'm not a parent, but I've heard over and over again, you essentially feel the pain of your kids. So I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Happy birthday, by the way. Birthday. Did you do something fun?
My daughter actually had COVID this week, so I had to quarantine, and she was home. So, but we just, we're home, and it was fine. And,
as long as she's doing well, she's doing pretty well. Good.
Yeah, she's fine. Yeah.
Good. That's what we like to hear. So right now, what's your day like as in your profession? What's your day-to-day like?
So I recently made a change, and I'm working at a local school district.
Okay.
So my day at this school district, I'm not just working with deaf and hard of hearing kids. I work with a variety of children, like on the autism spectrum disorder, developmentally delayed,
Mm-hmm.
and children with hearing loss. So within the school district, I have a couple of assignments.
Mm-hmm.
One is to assess children so that are preschool age. So I have a child come in and I do speech and language assessments on them to
Okay.
determine whether they're eligible for special education,
Mm-hmm.
and then determine their needs and what services would support them.
Mm-hmm.
So assessing is one of my uh, assignments, and I usually do a few assessments a month. The other assignment I have is I go into a special day classroom of mild to moderately delayed children and work with a teacher to provide speech and language within the classroom setting. I love it. It's really wonderful to work with a teacher, a special ed teacher. And we have a variety of kids with different needs. And so I do what we call push in speech
Okay.
therapy.
Okay.
And provide direct service, whether it's individual or group, as well as just kind of immerse the children in speech and language while I'm in the classroom. So
Mm-hmm.
that's 3 days a week. It just went up to 4 days a week. And then I also have preschool children who don't have other delays but are just struggling with speech and language.
Okay.
So they were eligible and have an IEP.
Mm-hmm.
An IEP is an individual education plan. And so I provide speech and language therapy to those preschoolers before they enter kindergarten,
Okay.
and assess them before they enter kindergarten to determine whether they still need services when they transition from the pre-K to the kinder. So that's kind of my assignment right now. And I also have kids that are deaf and hard of hearing that get AVT, which is auditory-verbal therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, my 3-year-old and my 4-year-old, both that I have as AVT families, they're mainstreamed in preschool, talking in 5 and 6 and 7 word sentences and doing really well, and will probably be discharged over the next year. So,
Okay.
so the school schedule was enticing to me because I have a daughter in high school, and previous to that, I was at UCLA in Westwood working 4 10s, which were really like 4 15-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really taxing. And I didn't love the hospital setting for my population of kids that I specialize with.
Mm-hmm.
Loved the team, loved the cochlear implant team, but I just didn't like that medical hospital feel.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I made a transition to the school district, which has a great schedule because you're off in the summer, you're 2
Mm-hmm.
weeks off in December, you have a week off in spring, so that the schedule's nice.
Yeah. I always say my most envious thing about teachers is that they know their vacations. They don't have to ask for a vacation. They don't have to feel bad for taking 2 weeks to go to Hawaii.
Yes, yes.
They know exactly when they can get that done.
Yes. When I left UCLA and I started working for the school district, in between, I went to Turks and Caicos with my daughter. It was amazing. Yeah.
I have one of my close friends is a teacher, so whenever we're trying to make any girls plans, she's like, "You already know, just put in the summer. I'm good. I'm ready."
Yeah.
Yes. But with that being said, what are some growth opportunities and leadership opportunities for people in your profession?
I think, we're always learning, right? I've thought a little bit about getting my PhD at some point, but I really, my daughter's going to be gone soon. I think that I love helping other professionals learn about my niche, and that there aren't limits for kids with hearing loss, and that listening and spoken language is not just a myth. It can really happen if we get the right pieces in place.
Right.
I have been in supervisory positions in other, jobs. I think it's kind of finding out the population you like to work with. Like, I am not a jack of all trades. I am more a master of the deaf and hard of hearing population.
Yeah.
Some people like to specialize. I think in the field of speech language pathology, there are some people that like that medical setting and dealing with swallowing. There are some people that like dealing with fluency or stuttering. But what's really neat about our profession and growth and is you can try different workplaces and different populations. So me going into the school setting has given me an opportunity to, work with different populations, which really has been a gift. And it's also, also been just eye-opening. So, there's clinics. I'm also doing private practice on the side. There's clinics, there's schools, there's medical settings, there's private practice, and then there's all the different populations. So I think as a professional, if you ever start feeling like a little bored, you can go to a different setting or work with a different population. And you can go get your PhD, or you can teach at universities with your master's as well. I have many friends who are doing courses at local colleges to train professionals that are going into our field.
Okay. And specifically for your niche, because you do have a very specialized way of practicing as a speech and language therapist, what's the best way to get in that niche? If somebody will listen to this and was like, I want to do exactly what she's doing, what's the best way to get there?
I think, well, there are different professional organizations, and I think that when you find out, in your coursework at college, that this is an opportunity in a specialized field, then you find someone, AG Bell, Alexander Graham Bell Association for the Deaf, which actually I'm co-president of the California chapter. Yeah, that just started this year. I'm the co-president with Julie Calderwood. She's in Covina. It's a lot of work, but so find a professional. And I am a mentor. I'm listed as a mentor on the website. So you can, what's really neat about the pandemic actually is it's opened up our eyes to being able to connect with people in different areas. And get specialists from different areas. Even if you're not there, you can work with them. So I think seeking out a professional through the AG Bell website would be a good place to start. And there's a lot more listening and spoken language certified professionals in Los Angeles. Find a person and talk to them and see if they're willing to mentor you. And then you start an agreement together, and it's a process. So,
so then once essentially you go to school to become a speech and learning pathologist, and then you do the 3 years or so of hands-on auditory externship sort of, or clinical sort of, to then get your specialization.
Yes. So basically any certified auditory-verbal therapist is either a speech language pathologist, a teacher of the deaf, or an audiologist first. You need to have those licenses first, or certifications first, before you can go on to become a specialist as an AVT or AVED.
Okay. Yep. And having been in the profession for so long, how do you keep your education and knowledge up to date?
Well, there's CEUs and there's professional organizations and conferences. So American Cochlear Implant Alliance and AG Bell, Academy for Listening and Spoken Language are the conferences I go to every year. And they've been more virtual more recently.
Right.
I also have, as the AG Bell co-president, we're going to be doing a little, group together where we just meet and talk about issues in our field. So just connecting with the professionals that are doing what you're doing, and getting the CEUs. I mean, as a licensed speech pathologist, I have to get so many CEUs every 2 years before I have to turn those in, as well as keep certification as an AVT. I have to do my CEUs.
Okay. I'm sure what you do can get pretty stressful. How do you usually deal with stress and burnout?
That's a good question. I have to say, I really take these kids home with me, and I lose sleep over these families. It's, when you are passionate about something and when you know the implications
Mhm.
of when children fall behind or aren't getting what they need, it can be taxing. So how do I balance that is, I think exercise is one way that I love to, get that release. I
Mhm.
love yoga, learning to meditate. And, I just think it's just a work in progress always to determine what works for you. So exercise works for me.
Mhm.
And, just I really felt like moving to the school, I would have more time to do those things that kind of fill me up.
Mhm.
So that's also a big change I made. I did take a pay cut when I went from UCLA to the schools. So that's, I think, going out of your comfort zone, a little scary, but um, taking care of yourself so you can take care of the people you work with is also very, very important self-care. So
Right.
self-care, whatever that might mean, if it's, hot bubble baths at night or hikes on the weekend or just getting together with friends. I have a daughter who's just the light of my life.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what I do.
Mhm. And that sort of answers up my next question, which was, how is your work-life balance? And actually, can you compare that now to when you were in the hospital, if there was a
Sure.
difference? Mhm.
Yeah. So I've never felt through my entire profession. So I started at the House Ear Institute's Care Center, and that was a clinic specifically for children with hearing loss. I was there for about 3 years. Then I moved to John Tracy's clinic, which is now John Tracy Center, and that's more of an educational setting specifically for children with hearing loss whose parents are helping them listen and talk. I was
Okay.
there for 10 years. Wonderful hours. Then I went into private practice when I had my daughter and worked out of my home office and made my own schedule. That was wonderful. Then, when I was going through a divorce, I actually got a call from UCLA saying, we're opening a clinic and we want to hire you. So I said, perfect timing. And I went to the downtown House Ear Institute clinic, and it was a joint UCLA and House.
Mm.
And that was like 5 days a week, kind of a regular work, 8 to 5. And then when I went to Westwood, shortly before I went to Westwood, I started a 4-10 schedule. Um, and when I went into the Westwood Medical Hospital Center, it was a very big team. I was at a clinic where it was a small team. It was a very big team of many audiologists, a couple of surgeons, and I had to get up really early and I'd get home really late, and it was just it was very stressful. And I didn't see myself, I'm 53, I didn't see myself retiring in
Right.
that amount of stress. And even though I had 3 days off, it felt like that fifth day off was like catch up on just rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't for me. And so I made the change, and this does feel much better. I love being in a school setting, working with teachers and DHH teachers. A lot of the professionals I work with are audiologists.
Okay.
So less of the people I interact with are speech pathologists, funny enough. More of the professionals I work with, because of my specialty, is deaf and hard of hearing teachers and audiologists and cochlear implant surgeons. Less cochlear implant surgeons now that I'm in the school setting, but
Right.
Teachers, DHH teachers, and audiologists to maximize the potential of the students I work with.
That actually answered which I was going to ask you, was who do you work with in your team, and you just told us. So I'll do this. What are some of your future professional aspirations, essentially?
Well, I have ideas about changes and improvements I want to make within the early intervention piece in the school setting. I think parents, so I have just different ideas about program improvement. I have considered my PhD, but I don't want to do that right now while my daughter is home. And when she goes to college, that's a possibility. I'm happy doing what I do. I feel
Yeah.
like, working with a team, a multidisciplinary collaborative team is what I love most.
Mhm.
Um, and having a little bit of private practice to do some on my own is nice. So I think, possibly a PhD in the future, helping train other professionals, mentoring other professionals is something I've started to do as well. And just, keep on keeping on.
I love it. I love it. That is the best thing to do. Keep on
Yeah.
keeping on. If you feel you find opportunity and feel like you're ready for it, you do it. If not, you just live your best life. There's a beauty in being content in what you're doing now. There's a beauty in that. That's sometimes it can be hard to achieve, to be honest. So I'm very happy to hear you. And some of my guests just like, I'm doing this. I love it. If I
love
decide to
what
do
you're
anything
doing.
else. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to just talk about, this field and, sharing it with people who might be interested or figuring out what they want to do. So I think
Yeah.
it's wonderful that you're doing this to
Thank
help
you.
younger people.
Yeah, and I'm learning a lot through this as well because my listeners have heard, and I've told you before we started this. It's just I had such a weird way of getting to my title now as a PA and my career essentially, that I'm like, what else is out there that people don't know about? What's under the sleeves of healthcare professional, that big old umbrella.
Yeah.
Let's find out everything that's under it. And I've just the field of the community of healthcare providers have been so receptive to it. And I really just enjoy seeing and meeting and talking to people like you who are open to telling me what they do and telling my audience what they're doing. Like, this is what I do. It's how I learn about it. Let me tell you, it's essentially what it is. And I really hope and I appreciate that y'all are here, and I'm glad that somebody somewhere is taking some value from this. But besides, now we know you did a specialization in auditory. Are there other specialized field like that for speech and language therapists or patho?
Are there different,
Yeah.
so I'm sure like there are different specialty certifications that you get as a speech language pathologist, like, some that maybe specialize in swallowing have certain certificates
Okay.
or competencies that say that they have this experience and they have taken these courses in order to do this. Usually, we want families to understand, to ask for highly trained professionals and whatever it is that they're wanting their child to get services, ask for highly trained professionals, and that sometimes needs a certificate. Could I list those for you right now? No, because I'm so specialized, but
Right.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
I think that whatever you're interested in speech language pathology, you have to take, you have to have a wealth of experience with that population and search out opportunities for CEUs in that particular area.
Right.
But as far as a certificate in other domains, there probably are, but I probably list those for you.
Awesome. Now I think my last question is essentially what you just answered in multiple ways, which is any advice for anybody wanting to be, what you're doing. If you want to add anything to that besides what you said, please go ahead.
I think that what enticed me to become a speech language pathologist is just the passion that I have. So I would say to young listeners who are searching out a profession to shadow someone if possible, and look at the different environments and populations to get a good idea. Because if you just go to the medical setting and look at a speech language pathologist that's working in the hospital, that's much different than a speech language pathologist that's working with a 1-year-old in a family educational type setting or home environment. So take your time and call people and don't be afraid to ask questions,
Mhm.
because there's a lot to learn and it can be a little overwhelming. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is, every journey is, but especially when we talk about healthcare and being on the field and deciding on the path, I always tell people, I'm like, listen, just don't jump into it. Jump into it, see what's out there. You won't know until you meet somebody who is a respiratory therapist, or a PA or an OT. So you really won't know until you talk to them. And you won't know which one fits you better unless you hear about this vast option and you're like, of what I want to do, this really fits me best. And like you've seen with Healthcare Boulevard, people are willing and ready to help.
Yeah.
You just got to be willing and ready to go search for it. And don't be shy. I know we can be shy. I myself, this has taken me out of my comfort zone. Talking to people I've never talked to before, being ready to hear no, and being ready to hear yes. So go ahead and just take your chance, take your shot. What you gotta lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you gotta lose. But thank you so I know. Thank you so much, Sandra. If you don't have anything else to add, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. Again, I really appreciate you taking time off of your Sunday. I'm glad your daughter is doing well. And again, happy birthday.
Thank you so much. It was so nice talking with you.
Likewise. Have a beautiful weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
And she is back. Let's get into the answer. The answer is A. Modesto, California is the highest city, with the highest pay for speech and language pathologists, and the number here is 128,540. And of course, I really just went in order. Second to that is Santa Ana, California. Then third is Santa Maria. Then fourth is Bridgeport, Connecticut. Then fifth is Corvallis. Keep in mind, if you are using this, I'm just using this as a prompt and something to get us thinking. But if you're using any of these numbers to sort of make any decision, keep in mind of the cost of living. Okay, always keep in mind of the cost of living. The average house and cost of living in California is not the same as in Connecticut or in Oregon, for that matter. So while we do have the first three cities here in California, definitely always keep in mind the cost of living. That's it. Adios. All right, that's all I have for you today. Thank you again for joining me. I appreciate you. Please subscribe, follow, like, comment, and share. And stay blessed. Bye.